unfortunately. But
Okay, is it Rodney King?
yes, ma'am.
Mr. King, you're represented by attorney Mr. Abuxia?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Abuxia, you're there. You guys have talked a little bit about this domestic violence case?
Yes, Your Honor. This has been kicking around for some time, and I believe we were at one point set for entering a guilty plea, but for whatever reason, it went back into status conference mode.
Okay.
And so,
Is the plea just a DV misdemeanor?
let me get it. I believe it was under 7694A, Your Honor.
Okay,
That's correct. As charged with 4A.
all
And
right, thank you.
Mr. King, is that still how you wish to proceed on this one?
Yes, if everything's in order as we've discussed.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so Mr. King, Judge Smolenski here, you can plead guilty or not guilty. You can have a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You can have an attorney. If you make the decision, it's got to be yours. Assuming you're in custody on something else, I got nothing to do with that. I'm only dealing with this. This domestic violence is a misdemeanor, up to 93 days in jail, up to $500 fine. Court costs can be on top of that. And by you going forward today, there's no trial at all. You give up your rights that are associated with having a trial, including bringing in witnesses, cross-examine witnesses, take the stand yourself, be a witness if you wanted to. If you chose not to, your silence cannot be held against you. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. If you plead guilty, we move right into the penalty phase. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And if you plead, there's no trial at all. Okay, so go back to January 1, New Year's Day, with this Heather King. As to the misdemeanor domestic violence, under that first-time offender program, how do you want to plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Did you get in a disagreement with this Heather person?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that your spouse or a child?
It's my wife.
Your spouse? And do you guys have kids?
Yes, Your Honor.
That day, when you got upset, presuming she was upset too, do you put her in any kind of position to feel like there might be violence? Do you throw anything? Do you push her? Do you shove her? Do you throw anything towards her? What do you do?
I just threw a lamp on the ground. I never put my hands on her.
When you throw the lamp, it's in the direction that she's in? It's in the room that she's in?
No, Your Honor. She was on one side, laying on one side of the bed, and I was on the other side of the bed, and it was just a small lamp on my nightstand.
She wouldn't expect that you would normally throw the lamp, though. Routinely, that's not what you do, correct?
No, ma'am. No, not at all.
So it showed that you were so upset, you decided to be physically violent toward this lamp by throwing it in your frustration or whatever, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you see how that action could make a person say, whoa, wait, what's going on? Like fear that they could be next. Do you get that?
Yes, Your Honor. And plus there were
And that's why you're pleading guilty today?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're pleading guilty by your own choice?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. How long do you think you're going to be in custody, Mr. King?
Another till October 13th.
Okay.
October 13th is what it showed on my end as well, Your Honor.
I want to set this up for sentencing before October 13. All I want to do is get a little bit more information. I don't know anything about the case. Are you guys going to reconcile? Are you going to be going through a divorce? Do you know, once you're out, where you're going to go?
No, as far as I know, we're pretty much reconciled.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're going to know that more than I will, but we'll look into it. We'll get up a date in the next week or two, Mr. Abuxia, and set this for sentencing.
Your Honor, as far as no contact order goes on this case, I would ask that if mutual to the parties, when Mr. King is released, to be allowed to have that contact with his wife.
And I'm sure I'm going to find that information out before the sentencing. That's why I want to sentence him before he's out.
Okay.
Do you believe the court has complied with the court rule on taking the plea, Mr. Abuxia?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so I accept the plea, Mr. What we'll do, Mr. King, is set it up before you leave, and I'll get to talk to you again like this.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks for your courtesy. We're through.
Thank you,
can
Mr. King.
disconnect. Thank you at the jail.
You.
Mr. Paul Graham,
Yes.
I'm Judge Sara Smolenski, and you're in front of the court on a case they call illegal entry. Sometimes they call it B&E, but it's really being on a property that you don't have permission to be on. It's not exactly a trespassing. They actually call it illegal entry. It's a misdemeanor. You can plead guilty or not guilty. You can have a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You can have an attorney. This is a misdemeanor that has the possible penalty of up to 93 days in jail, up to $500 fine. Now, Mr. Abuxia, what was the discussion on this one?
We had just discussed with the prosecutor to move the illegal entry to a disturbing the peace.
Oh, yeah. So disturbing the peace is kind of a generic charge, Mr. Graham. It's still a misdemeanor, still up to 90 days in jail, up to $500 fine. You make the decision as to how to go forward. You have all the same rights I went over about pleading guilty or not guilty, having a trial, bringing in witnesses, testifying yourself. Giving up your right to be presumed innocent is probably the biggest one, because once you plead guilty, there's no trial at all. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
If there was something you didn't agree with, you'd have 21 days to appeal. Do you have any questions about that?
No, ma'am.
The appeal actually goes to the higher court, which is circuit court. When you go back to this date of December 11th, how do you want to plead to that charge of disorderly creating a disturbance?
Guilty.
How do you remember it?
I had
December 11th, you know the person, Megan. How did
Yeah.
you know her?
She's my wife's sister.
So she's your sister-in-law.
Correct.
How was it that there was a disturbance at that property in Algoma Township?
I had got dropped off by my boss after a work party, after drinking, and I went in, I got let in from, I don't remember it because I had drank too much and I am on medication. And I fell asleep on the couch and I got woken up to being in the back of a cop car.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little bit scary when you think about it, how intoxicated you were. I mean, really, when you think about it, don't you think that?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you're really on the couch of your sister-in-law's house, but she doesn't know it's you there. She was dealing with her son coming home. You were completely intoxicated and there was a disturbance. Fair enough?
Correct.
I mean, just picture how scary that would be to her, that she didn't know you were going to be there and she didn't know that there was going to be any kind of a disruption. Do you know what I mean? To the point
Right.
where the police have to be called. You're so much smarter than this. Now, I get that the friend dropped you off because you have a place to be and you can be safe. But in all due respect, you got to check with the sister-in-law. You got to check with the homeowner. It's
Right.
not like they can just dump you on the couch and all's good. Do you get what I mean?
I understand that. I was
And you're
just
pleading guilty by your own decision.
correct.
Nobody's forcing you to plead guilty.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Tell me, Mr. Abuxia, if you would, whether you believe the court has complied with the court rule in terms of the taking of the plea.
I do, Your Honor.
Anything you want to say before I tell them the penalty right now?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe this is the type of case that certainly doesn't warrant any jail time. I believe fines and costs to be the appropriate punishment in this case. Mr. Graham is very much a family man. That's actually why we dialed back into your courtroom today, is to address a no contact order, but it is a matter of convenience to enter the guilty plea and get sentenced here today. And we're hoping that with the culmination of this case, the no contact order will be dropped, as it's making family functions hard. And there's also, I believe it's a cousin, or is it brother Paul? Somebody is deathly ill, and they're expecting some sort of funeral services to
Right.
be upcoming in the few weeks here.
Right. Okay. Mr. Graham, I don't have a problem lifting the no contact. It was mostly with your sister-in-law's home and her. Just make sure that it's mutually agreeable. If she doesn't invite you in, don't go in. It's not that the no contact is lifted, you can go crash her house, because that's really what this was. You crashed without permission, and that's unfair to anybody, even if you weren't meaning to cause a problem. So I'll lift the no contact, just make sure it's mutually agreed upon. She has to agree that you're welcome, then have contact. Otherwise, don't. Don't force her to have contact with you, even though you're married to her sister. It's a 90-day suspended jail sentence. You don't serve any jail, but if you violate the law, you could, so just be alert. We're just asking you to be smarter. It's a $200 fine, $75 crime victims' right fee, for a total of $275. There's a $200 fee for the court-appointed attorney. So the total on everything is $475. I get that that's a lot. We'll give you time to pay it. You can set up a payment plan. Just don't get yourself wasted to the point where you don't know where you are, who you are, what's going on. That's completely irresponsible. And I never asked you if you had kids or what. I don't know if you're a parent, but like, you're an adult. Act like one, period. Get what I'm saying?
I understand.
Okay, thanks for listening to me. Mr. Abuxia, anything else you have?
Nothing further from me, Your Honor. Thanks, Your Honor, and thank you,
All right,
Mr. Graham, for
Thank you, Mr.
logging
Graham,
back.
for zooming in and making the effort to zoom in, and I'm wishing you the best with your ill family member. Okay, that's it. Thank you. I
Thank
gotta
you.
run